Hi and welcome to our first video ever. Today we'll be talking about the simple present. The simple present is a tense and can be translated into German as einfache Gegenwart. Today we will focus on when do we use the simple present and how do we form the simple present. So let's get started. Let's start with the first question. When do we use the simple present? Imagine this sentence. I walk to school. And now imagine I don't only walk to school on one day, let's say Monday, but I also walk to school on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. So we can say I walk to school every day. This is a perfect example for the use of the simple present. Another good example for the use of the simple present is if somebody does something always. For example, they always brush their teeth. Or if somebody does something never, like you never take a helicopter to school. And finally, a good example is for a series of events. So first I brush my teeth, then I walk to school, and then I eat an apple, and then I eat another apple because apples just taste so good. So that leaves us with the following rule. We use the simple present to talk about things that happen regularly, always or never, and for series of events. So, now that we know this, there are some certain signal words for the simple present. Whenever you hear or read these words, your mind automatically has to jump to the simple present and nothing else. You might want to copy these into your exercise book if you don't know them already. Now let's move on to the next question, which is how do we form the simple present? Let's look at our example sentence again. I walk to school. The verb walk is in the infinitive. Infinitive means Grundform. And that's all we need for the simple present. So you can really say the simple present is quite simple. So we can simply use the infinitive Grundform of the verb to form perfectly fine sentences. I walk to school, you walk to school, we walk to school, you walk to school, and they walk to school. But I'm sure you have noticed that there is something missing in the middle. And that's where the one rule that English students never forget comes into play. He, she, it, das, es muss mit. But what does that even mean? It means that when you are talking about a he, a she, or an it, you simply add an s to the infinitive of the verb. So that means in our example sentence, walk becomes walks. He walks to school, she walks to school, it walks to school. It walks to school? Mr. von Kehler, that does not make any sense. I know, it does not make any sense. It's just an example. One more important thing to note is that it's not always just an S that we add. Wash ends on an sh sound and we can't say sh really good. So we say washes instead because it's just better to say. And we write ES instead of just an S. Same goes for catch and catches. And if we have a Y, an Y, at the end it turns to IE instead. I walk to school. We call this kind of statement a positive statement. And we know everything there is to know about positive statements in the simple present. But what about negative statements, like I do not walk to school, or questions, like do I walk to school? Let's look into that. How to form questions and negations in the simple present. The red highlights in the sentence show it. Do I walk to school? I do not walk to school. We need a form of to do. In this case, do is an auxiliary, ein Hilfsverb. So we can formulate the rule. Questions and negations in the simple present use the auxiliary do. But of course we mustn't forget our most important rule for the simple present, he, she, it, das, es, muss, mit, which turns do into does or does not if we talk about an he, an she, or an it. And of course we can shorten does not to doesn't because we can be lazy. So we can say I don't walk to school instead of I do not walk to school. This leaves us with the following table. Let's read it out together. This way you can practice your pronunciation. Do I walk to school? I don't walk to school. Do you walk to school? You don't walk to school. Does he walk to school? He doesn't walk to school. Does she walk to school? She doesn't walk to school. Does it walk to school? It doesn't walk to school. Do we walk to school? We don't walk to school. Do you walk to school? You don't walk to school. Do they walk to school? They don't walk to school. Good job! Now you know everything you need to know about the simple present. Here you see a summary of the things we discussed in this video. Feel free to write anything you need to write down into your exercise book so you don't forget it. And then the next step, of course, is to talk and write a lot with the simple present. And now, because you watched the whole video until the end, here's a little treat. Goodbye for now, until the next time. Digital von Kehler, out.